Hey there, and welcome to my second installment of Let's Code. We're going to be continuing on with our Socket.io chat application and getting that into the Simply Evil build system and just playing around with it and doing what we need to do. So in this segment, we're going to focus on getting some styles. Pretty much we're going to put lipstick on this pig and hope that it turns out beautiful. We'll do some minor refactoring towards the end to kind of put the styles in a nice little componentized structure that's easy to maintain and take care of. We'll basically implement something that looks kind of like this, but when all's said and done, we're going to take this, which we built on the last episode, and turn it into this. So let's get started. All right, so let's get started with the styling. Before we get going on any styling, what we might want to do is just create a branch to work on so we are free from master. So we'll get create branch. It's just an alias I have set up. We'll call it styles. That should switch us over to the styles branch. So now any changes we make will be against this branch and not our master. All right, so first thing we want to do is, now that we have that app started, we want to start styling what we built on the last episode into something like this. So the first thing we'll accomplish is pushing down this this form entry bit here, and we're going to pull that out of flow and affix it to the bottom. So to do that, we have some helper classes set up, or some utility classes. One of them is fix bottom. This is also available as a mixin, and that will basically apply a position fixed and put it with a left and right of 0 with a bottom of 0. Now, using this as a mixin, we can specify an actual height. So if I were to do height, and we'll just go ahead and see what 3rem looks like. 3rem looks pretty darn good, so we would go with that. All we need to do when using this as a mixin is specify the height as a parameter, and it will pretty much apply this. So where we want to add that is going to be under source, less, and we're just going to go ahead and add it to the main file here. All right, here in the main file, we will go ahead and add a class of entry. And again, we're going to use the mixin here instead of that helper class, and we'll use fix bottom. And like I was saying before, if we just add a parameter here of 3rem, it's going to add that to be the height. So let's go ahead and give this a save and see what happens here. So it looks like we were injected. Now you'll notice we have this height applied. We can go ahead and take that off. As a matter of fact, let's just remove it all together. You still see the height is there. Then over here, we want to take this fix bottom out. Because that no longer needs to be applied. That now comes through as entry. So we have our position fixed, our left, right, bottom, and there's our height. So everything has now been positioned with a known height there that we can easily put a margin against or whatever, since we pulled this element out of flow. Okay, so the next bit we have to address is just some simple layout things. We want to take this input and actually have it grow to extend and fill the empty area here, and push this button as far right as we can get it. And we want it to be able to always fill the empty area as the application grows or shrinks on the width. So to do that, we have a very simple Flexbox Grid built into the build system. So if I just put a class of row here, you will see that the input has extended its height to fill the available area, that 30 pixels. Notice the height on that's 30 pixels. Same thing here, this is a height of 30 pixels as well. So typically for layout bits, I like to keep the utility classes. I don't like adding it, like say, to the entry like we did with this fixed position. It just doesn't make sense to do that. Don't know why. It's just something I don't like to do. So To get that to extend, we add a class of call, and that adds flex1, which will have this grow to try to fill as much of the area as possible, since it has a value of 1. And as we see, that has worked. So the next thing we need to do is get this into the index.html as class names. So we will head here to form, and we will add a class of row to the form, and we will add a class of call to the input. Now coming over here, we want to give this a refresh. Notice it now puts row and call, and everything lays out the way that we would expect it to. Alrighty, now that we got the basic layout done, as you see here, we'll go ahead and add a splash of color to this. So to get this going, let's go ahead, we'll make some room on that. Let's go ahead and add just some temporary classes of background navy to give this a, well, actually we don't want that there, silly man. We'll go ahead and take that out and put it where it needs to be here. So now that gives a background navy there. We want this to actually have a class of background silver. That's kind of like spelling. And we will give this a background of blue and silver for the text. And that looks pretty darn good. So let's go ahead and apply those here. We will jump into our less files. We'll just continue dropping the stuff into main. Here we wanted to add a background of navy, I believe. And what are the other class names? Let's look at this here. Alright, so now we have entry input. One of my favorite things is this parent selector. For less and sass, it lets you, it pretty much when it's rendering everything, it'll take this entry or whatever the parent is and just append it wherever it sees that ampersand. So here we do dash dash or underscore underscore input, and we can do the same thing for underscore underscore send. And when that renders out, that will actually render out to entry underscore underscore input and entry underscore underscore send, which is what we want. So here we need to apply a background of silver, and here we will do a background of blue. Oh, we should put the class there. We'll do background of blue, and we'll do silver as the text since it is a dark color. Now, we'll give that a save. Come over here. We'll give this a save. And it should have reloaded everything. Now you'll notice that those class names have gone because everything reloaded, and we have our colors. Looking pretty darn good. There is some stuff we need to adjust, but we'll take care of that next. Right, now we got those colors in there. We're tending to see that we're having some spacing issues here. Like it would be nice if we had some spacing at the top and bottom of this to kind of give a line, and it would be nice if there was, I don't know, a space in between this button and the text. So to deal with that, let's go ahead and add some styling. So we'll head to source to get this going. We'll jump into here and jump right back into main. This is where we're doing all of our little work here. So the first thing we want to do is we'll push this over to the left. So we'll do that with a margin left, and we will give that a spacing of 1 rem, and that should push it 10 pixels over to the left after this bad boy reloads. There we go. So that's reloaded. Now we have that spacing there. Now let's go ahead and get spacing on the top and bottom of that. So to do this, we actually have a mixin called spacing. And this will be vertical spacing, so we'll do spacing vert, and let's go ahead and do 0.3 rem, see what that looks like. So that's going to be 3 pixels. We'll put that in, and that should give Yeah, that looks pretty darn good. Here is some text, and I'm not really digging these text styling and bits like that. The other thing I'm kind of noticing is it would be nice to have some padding so this isn't right up against there. So let's go ahead and we will put in for button and input, we'll go ahead and give them their own little set of rules here. And let's do spacing, except this time on the horizontal. We'll go spacing horizontal. That's kind of like spelling again, you silly man. And we'll make that 1 rem. There we go. So now this should apply horizontal spacing of 1 rem. There we go. So now we have padding of 10 pixels on either side of that. Looks pretty darn good. One thing I don't like is this outline here. So let's go ahead and remove the outline from these controls. So that way when they're selected, they're not outlined. We'll figure out a way to deal with that for accessibility later on in the app. So there, we don't have our outline. Looks pretty darn neat. This is some text. I like the size of that here for the text. I don't like the size of it here. So let's real quickly, before we finish up this portion of it, let's go ahead and make this a little bigger. So if we were to go, let's see what Senti does for us. Well, Senti's pretty big, so let's go Deca. Deca Lecca High. Well, Deca's pretty darn big itself. So actually, let's leave that. That might actually be a really good size. And to make it a little, how would you say, more like other elements, we will go ahead and do a font size of inherent. It's such a hard word to say. And what that's going to do is pick up the font size of the parent container, which in this case I believe is 14 pixels or 1.4 rem. Let's see here. We'll look at font size begins with F. 14 pixels. Okay, so that's 1.4 rem. I'm okay with that, I guess, for this button, but let's see if we can make this one a little bigger. So we will go here and go Deca for the input. And that should bring it up to the next size up, which is going to be 16 rem. And that looks pretty darn good. So we will, I guess we could keep that there instead of adding it to the class, since it's only one class, nothing special. So we'll go ahead and come into the main page, and we want to add the class of Deca to this. And there we go. We now have Deca added. It should reload the entire page with the Deca class there, and we'll go, this is some text. Man, that's starting to look pretty darn sweet. Okay, we have good padding around that. Everything is starting to look nice. One of the things we can do, just to give this a little bit of spit in Polish, is do a border radius of, let's do 3 pixels, see what that looks like. We can always adjust it and update it later. So this will add a slight when it's injected. See how the corners are nice and rounded. Let's see if we can bring that up for another pixel. Maybe 4 will look good. We don't want to get too ridiculous, but at the same time, we want it to look all right. 4 looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. All right, yeah, that does look pretty good. You're right. random message box. We need to keep in mind that we ripped this out of flow and we positioned it down at the bottom, or fixed it to the bottom. So since we did that, we still have this UL with all of its LIs still in flow. So to show you what that's going to look like, let's go ahead and modify this example just a little bit. We'll go ahead and we'll add right now one LI, and let's go get some hips in here. Go ahead and beer me, bro. We'll come down here and start with taxidermy and just grab one paragraph here. Why not? So we'll give this a little what I like to call paste. Get that in there, copy this, and paste it 5 more times. When we give this a save, that should fill up the screen. And there it is, fills it right up. So one of the things that of course you're going to notice is it's cut off here, and we don't really get to see that bottom line. So one of the things we're going to need to do is set up some spacing for that. That has a class of log, I do believe. So let's go here and we'll throw in .log, and this will be so easy. We just do margin, let's do padding, padding bottom, and that is 3 rem, so we'll do this 3.5 rem. And that should, once this refreshes, now let us scroll and see the bottom with a little bit of spacing there. So there, that gets that part resolved. But one of the things you're going to notice here is we have all of these magic numbers. We have like 3.5 rem, we have 3 rem, we have 1 rem. This is becoming a mess. So one of the things we can do is move these magic numbers into variables. So let's do spacing normal. We'll just do that normal, and we'll give that a value of 1 rem. Then we can go here and replace all the 1 rems with at spacing normal. All right, I think we have one more. Yep, down here in this. We'll give this a little paste. Okay, spacing normal, that has been resolved. We also have this 3 rem, so we will call that spacing huge. And we will do this. Actually, we will do header, or let's call this entry height. We don't really need to give it a spacing. Entry is spelled wrong because I do not know how to spell. So let's go ahead and fix that. Entry, tree, whatever, same sort of thing. We'll set this to be 3 rem. And now we can set this up to say entry height. And we will go at entry height. That looks pretty darn good. And the other thing we need to do is we will go spacing tight, and we will make that 0.3 rem. And we will go here and do, well, we'll call this spacing compact, I guess. Compact. And here we'll go spacing tight. And we will make that 0.5 rem. Okay, put that at the end. Now, instead of having these magic numbers like 3.5 and things like that, we can change this to be entry height plus, this will be spacing tight. Alright, so now with that, that should get us 3.5 rem. We have this 0.3 rem, And here we will do spacing compact. Okay, let's see how all of this works. Hopefully we're not getting any errors down here in the lower right hand corner. It looks like that changed without any errors, and it looks like everything is calculating out just the way we wanted it to. So it looks like we have that successfully refactored out. Now really, they don't belong here. Excuse me, they don't belong here. They actually should go into something called vars. So we'll go here and add spacing dot less and split this in, grab all of these spacing ones. I'll hit X there, give that a what I like to call paste. Those have been pasted in. We now need to include this in the all. So we'll do that and go spacing. Now we have those vars being imported in. We'll go over here, give this a save, and hopefully this won't error because we have those. Oh, and it does. Okay, so it doesn't find spacing normal. Why does it not? Oh, because I didn't save this. So that's good. Now we should get another thing saying that everything was built. Yep, everything's built fine there. We'll look back here, give this a refresh. That all looks good. Now that looks fine. Okay, well, if we were to go ahead and commit this now, that would be a blaring declaration that we have no idea how to do our jobs. While this is functional and it looks really, really good, this is always the final crucial step before implementing something. You need to refactor things out, get it working as quickly as possible, but then when you're done, refactor that out. The cool thing is we're using BEM, so this that format or that standard just lends itself very well to componentization. But before we move all of these little bits out, and let's go ahead and just take this and give this a paste. We'll move that all at once. We do have a place for these simple element declarations here. So I usually have a base file, which is kind of like my reset. It's where I set all of the, I don't know, just the straight elements, my original overrides to what the actual user agent just defines. So we can move those into here because that's more of a place, that's a better place for them to live. Because all of these bits here that we have under entry, these are very specific to this implementation. So it has nothing to do with the overall button as a whole and input, whereas we want every input and button to have this styling associated to it for now. But the only thing we have here is the stuff that's specific to this implementation. So now we have this moved over there. We should be good to go. Let's go ahead and create what I like to call a, oh, that's not where we want to be, a components folder. Components, there we go. And then in there, we'll go ahead and add an all dot less. And we will also add an entry dot less. And with our components, let's go ahead and do one of these. In our all, we'll go ahead and this will make it a lot easier. We'll just do this. And we want this to read entry for the first one. Okay, give that a save. That's going to bring that in. And we can just move all of this stuff namespaced under entry right into that entry file. So, of course, right now, this is not going to build properly because we never really call this all file. So if we look here, as soon as that builds and injects, it's not going to happen because we have a issue there. because the log is dependent on that. So let's go ahead and bring in component all. And we'll go components all, and then that should clear that up. Come on, let's get a build on that. Yep, everything's changed, and we should be good here. Yep, everything's good there. Now let's go ahead and make another one called log.less, and this will hold everything. Right now we don't have much for the log, we just have that bottom padding, but that's okay. We will add some more stuff later, I am sure. Pretty darn sure of that. So let's go ahead, delete this, and up here we want to do at import, and we'll do log. Okay, now let's do a little test. I'm curious about something. We'll save this too. We shouldn't have any errors. I wonder what happens when we do this. I believe the lazy loading should work as expected. Do we get any errors or anything like that? Nope. We come back here. Everything seems to be good. Hunky-dory, as they say. Okay, now our main file. Let's give this a little looky-loo. Our main file looks super clean. There's no weird things going on in there. And then we have these component files that will basically implement all of the stuff for the specific component. So it makes it very hard or very easy to just look for certain block elements like in your HTML. So we would just look, oh, this is entry and it has elements under it. So we would know that's defined in the components under whatever that block is, and there's entry. Same thing for log, and it's just better coding. So now this is something we can be a little more proud of, or a little more proud of than we were before. So let's go ahead and see what's changed. Oh man, we have changed a lot. So other than those files that we added, let's see, that's that going in, that's us bringing components in. We also added spacing, and looks like, yep, we added, what did we add? Oh, we added the row and the column. Yes. So, all right, so let's git add everything. And we'll do another GST. We should have everything there. And we will git commit all initial styles. Should we do that with the Z? No, we'll do that with an S. Let's do it with the Z. No, it'll be an S. But let's go ahead and put sunglasses. So that way it's super cool. Alright, and let's go ahead and get log. There we go, we have our initial commit, and then we have initial styles sunglasses because it is super cool. And that should do it for us. Alright, well, looks like we're out of time here. We were able to get all the styling in. It all looks pretty darn good. Next up, we start really getting into the meat and potatoes of this all. We will be bringing in socket.io, and we have an issue with our browser sync, the little bit of code that was reloading every time we changed one of those files. It also uses socket.io for WebSockets, so we're going to have to and we're not really using an Express server at this point in time. So we're going to do a little bit of shifting around to start off, and then get the socket.io, start getting it integrated. So if you want to keep up to date with all the latest videos, be sure to hit subscribe in the bottom, and if you want to like or comment this video, please feel free to do so. And keep in mind, if you find yourself bored in life, chances are you may not be doing it right.